Flying. And Rece joins us now from Los Angeles. And Rece, you know, I think there was a time when we would make fun of the message board mentality of the college football fan, and then Twitter comes around and we realize, you know, we're all on a message board, aren't we? And what I'm getting at when it comes to the chat boards in college football is they magnify any perceived flaw. And you know, they struggled with Kent State for 2 quarters. How good could they be? Man, they were behind at Missouri. They're not any damn good at all. Well, about that, the 60 minutes that they just put on tape, if it's not the ceiling, it's got to be close. What'd the Dogs show you tonight?
They're the most dominant program, certainly the most dominant team in the country, Scott. I mean, that was as brilliant and nearly perfect a performance as you'll see on a championship stage. And since you were counting up the touchdowns, I'll tell you what happened just behind the camera that I'm looking into right now about 5 minutes ago. Kirby Smart ran by. There was a pack of Dog fans up there still woofing and barking. And
Sure.
Kirby put up 1 finger, and then he put up 2 fingers, and then he put up 3 fingers, and
Okay.
they liked that result. So now I tried to get him on the stage to say, hey, we'll see you in Houston next year. He wouldn't go for that, but when he thought nobody was looking, he's ready to count up another one. But
Yeah.
it was just a remarkable performance, and they are the standard in the sport.
They are that. All he gave you was a go Dogs, but he gave the Dog fans 3 fingers. That's awesome. Hey, look, and there's no reason for them not to think that they'll be in the conversation for that. And somehow, Rece, he'll convince that next year's team that everyone thinks they stink. And I think there's a brilliance in that. Like he said, everyone doubted. No one doubted you just because they thought Alabama might be the SEC champs. But I think that's part of the genius. And you have to find it, don't you, when you've had success to stay hungry. I think that's part of it, isn't it?
You mentioned the Kent State and the Missouri games, and that's why it is such a challenge. The reason those games were close, no disrespect intended to those 2 programs, is
Right.
because Georgia was sleepwalking. You know, they were not as interested. They thought they were going to win, and they turned out to be right. But what happens in a game like this against a worthy team in TCU, but one that was obviously physically overmatched, and you didn't have to wait for the start of this game to know that. Georgia was interested and invested and hungry to hunt, to use Kirby's phrase. And when you are physically superior in most areas to your opponent, you're going to steamroll them. Maybe not 65-7, but you know, Georgia, when interested, did not have an equal, save perhaps Ohio State, who just came up a point short.
When it comes to Stetson, it's really interesting, isn't it, Rece, that in part, there probably won't be another quarterback like him in Athens because of what he did. And what I mean is, it's going to be a 4 or a 5-star guy because that's what they're going to attract. And he might not be Bryce Young or Caleb Williams or C.J. Stroud. He might not be a first-round guy. Okay. But even if he's not a Sunday quarterback, he's a legend forever in college football. And I think that you don't have to be one to be the other. And I guess, to me, that's his legacy. How would you frame it?
Exactly that way. He has etched his name in the rarest of places in college football as a starting quarterback for back-to-back champions. It's Stetson, it's A.J. McCarron, it's Tommy Frazier, and Steve Davis. And Matt Leinart had a split championship. He was great. But, outside of Leinart, none of those guys really had as much distinction after their college days as they did on those glorious Saturdays. Stetson Bennett is an all-time legend at Georgia. Maybe Herschel Walker, because he's the ultimate star there. David Pollock is the only other 3-time All-American there. But Stetson Bennett, for different reasons, is as much of a legend as those 2 guys because of his story and because of the championships that he delivered.
Yeah, well, 2's more than 1, man. Like that's an incredible thing that Stetson's been part of. I say the same thing to you that I said to Chris and Kirk. You know how much I love the sport and the people I get to talk to, and you're at the top of the list. Nobody better, Rece. I appreciate you. You stay well until next time we talk. All right, pal?
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot, Scott. Always a pleasure.